Hi friends, this is Meha here. Hope you like my earlier videos. Today I'll be telling you about the fundamental unit of life. And I'll just give you a small note that this will be the part 1 video of this lesson. Before getting into the video, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to it and don't forget to hit the like button. Yes? Now let's move on. Firstly, let me ask you, what is the fundamental unit of life? If you get the answer, please type it in the comment section below. Yes, it is cell. Now let's just have a small discussion about cell, because all these points are just a well-known point of us. It's just a general knowledge for us, right? Cell is the smallest functional and structural unit of a living organism. It can be only viewed through a microscope. This was firstly discovered by Robert Hooke in 1665. He observed a cork under a microscope. He could assume it as small boxes, and so why he named it cell, which means small room in Latin. Now these cells differ in size and shape in different organisms according to their function. Right? Now let's see some important discoveries or important contribution to the cell theory. Anton von Leeuwenhoek actually discovered an advanced microscope, and he viewed a free living cell that is in a pond water. Robert Brown discovered the nucleus, while Johannes Purkinje introduced the term protoplasm. He coined that term for that fluid substance that is present in a cell. Nowadays we call it as cytoplasm also, right? Matthias Jacob Schleiden was a botanist. He concluded that all plant cells have cells. All plants have cells. And Theodor Schwann actually was a zoologist. He concluded that all living organisms are made up of cells. It may be plants, animals, humans, or any living organism. Right? Now, Rudolf Virchow concluded that a cell has come from another cell. That it is, a cell has come from its pre-existing cell. We all may be clear about the binary fission, right? A parent cell divides into two daughter cells, right? So this is how Rudolf Virchow concluded this point. Now let's see how are cells classified according to their number. We already know this. Cells are classified of two types, that is unicellular and multicellular. Unicellular organisms are organisms with just one cell. Multicellular have many cells. In unicellular organisms, the single cell performs all the activities, where in multicellular organisms each cell performs different activities. Example for unicellular organism is amoeba and paramecium, while multicellular organisms have many examples such as humans, animals, plants, etc. Right? Now let's see what are cells made up of. Cells are mainly made up of plasma membrane, which is also called the cell membrane, cell wall, nucleus, cytoplasm, which is also called the protoplasm, and cell organelles that perform different activities. Firstly, let us see about plasma membrane. Plasma membrane, it is the outermost covering of a cell. This separates the external and the internal environment of the cell. This is selectively permeable, and so it only allows a certain substances to enter inside and move outside. It mainly allows carbon dioxide and oxygen throughout the cell or throughout the membrane. The plasma membrane is mainly composed of cellulose, and you have a small diagram or a small piece of diagram of a plasma membrane. This is how a plasma membrane looks. Now let's move on. We have a differentiation between active transport and passive transport over here. The main difference of active transport and passive transport is that active transport requires energy, while passive transport does not require energy. In biology, we actually define this energy as cellular energy, and so why active transport requires cellular energy and passive transport does not require cellular energy. Active transport actually transpires in just one direction, where passive transport happens in both directions. It's bidirectional. Okay, and active transport is a transport from a region of low concentration to a region of high concentration, whereas passive transport happens from a high concentration region to a low concentrated region. Active transports examples are endocytosis and exocytosis, where diffusion and osmosis are examples of passive transport. Now let's see them in brief. Endocytosis. Endocytosis is the process in which a cell is enabled to engulf food and other materials from its external environment. Yes, and this is only because of the flexibility of the cell membrane. Okay, there are two types of endocytosis, that is phagocytosis and pinocytosis. Phagocytosis is called cell eating, where pinocytosis is called cell drinking. Phagocytosis is the transport of solid material, where extracellular fluids transport in the process of pinocytosis. Phagocytosis actually happens with a detachable membrane called phagosomes, where and pinosomes actually transport, or pinocytosis actually happens with pinosomes, which are membrane bound vesicles. Amoeba engulfing food by forming pseudopodia is an example of phagocytosis, where cells lining the blood capillaries to absorb ions is an example of pinocytosis. Now let's see what is exocytosis. Exocytosis is a process of excreting. It excretes waste material or secretion material from the cell. This removes the undigested matter or the unwanted matter from the cell. So just have a look of this video that is over here. The food is engulfed through a small vacuole, that is a temporary vacuole, and now the waste material is again brought back into the nature. It is freed again into the nature. So the undigested material or the unwanted material is again secreted in the outside environment. Yes, sorry for this blubbering. So now let's see what is diffusion. Diffusion is a spontaneous movement. Now spontaneous movement is a rapid or a continuous movement of a substance from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. Get it? Now the best example of diffusion is the gaseous exchange. Yes, and this gaseous exchange may be mainly in carbon dioxide and oxygen. This is mainly, or it is, you can see it very you can see it widely in nature. It can also be seen when the stomata respires, right? Water also obeys diffusion, but it mainly obeys osmosis. Now let's see what is osmosis. Osmosis is the movement of molecules through a semi-permeable membrane. Here, the water molecules move from a region with high concentration to a region with low concentration. This happens until the two solutions, that is on either sides of the selectively permeable membrane, becomes equal, or until they attain the state of equilibrium. Okay, equilibrium. Now let's just see a small video over here. This is the small semi-permeable membrane. Over here there are these salt molecules, and on the other side we have water. Now to balance the solution and make them equal, the water from the other side moves through the selectively permeable membrane and mixes up with the salt solution. This happens until either solutions become equal, right? Now they have attained the equilibrium state, and so why the osmosis has stopped over here. Okay, now let's see the next one. Here I have a small activity for you, but this is really hard for students like you people to try, but this will lead you to an important topic. Okay, so we have to take 3 beakers with equal amount of water, take a salt in a bowl and add it accordingly, as I say, in these 3 beakers. The first beaker, add 1 gram of salt. In the second beaker, 2 gram of salt, whereas in the third beaker, 3 gram of salt. Mix them nicely and take a single plant cell and put it into the beakers, one each. So there should be only one in each of the beakers. So now let's observe and see what happens. In the first beaker, we could see that the plant cell has shrunk. In the second one, we could see that the plant cell was similar, or was this the same as the earlier. Yes, and the third one was really bigger and bulged as the earlier one. This is because the solution that is outside the beaker in the first beaker is very low concentrated, and so in osmosis the transport happens only from a region of high concentrated solution to a region which has a low concentrated solution, and so why the liquid that is inside the cell has a high concentration, and so the liquid from inside the cell goes outside the cell, leading the cell to shrink. And in the second case, or in the second beaker, both the solutions are already in an equilibrium state, and so why no transport of water happens. And in the third one, we can see that the cell is bulged and it's so big, or it's fat. This is because the solution that is outside, that is the external solution, has a higher concentrated solution, and the one inside the cell has a low concentration, and so why the water is transported from the outside of the cell to the inside of the cell, and so why the cell is bulged. Okay, so now let's see the naming of the three solutions. When the cell is shrinked, or when it is shrunk, we name that type of solution as hypertonic solution, and when the cell has no difference, then it is named as isotonic solution, and when the cell is bulged and or it is fat, or it seems bigger, it is named as a hypotonic solution. I'll just give you a small key to remember all these three type of solutions. Now just read the names: hypertonic, isotonic and hypotonic. Now these three solution, the word that looks awkward to us is isotonic solution because it doesn't match with both. Isotonic solution is a type of solution which has an equilibrium state. It is just the same as the earlier. Okay, in a hypotonic solution, just take the four letters hypo and relate that word hypo to the animal hippopotamus. Now hippopotamus is actually really fat and big and huge, and so why the cell that is in an hypotonic solution is always fat. And so when we conclude an isotonic solution has no change and hypotonic solution has a fat cell, obviously we will be able to conclude that hypotonic solution has a cell which is shrinked, right? So by this we can conclude our session today. Thank you everybody for watching my video. Please subscribe to my channel and also hit the like. I'll be back with the part 2 of this video. Until then, stay tuned to my channel Meha Ramesh.